Alright, let's cut to the chase. Pokémon Nuzlocke. They're a good way to test your Pokemon skills, a good way to break everything you own, and a good way to get views and clout on YouTube. Well, one day I said to myself, hey, I want all that stuff. So I set out on a journey in Pokemon Fire Red to complete my very first Pokemon Nuzlocke. For those of you that don't know the basic rules of a Nuzlocke, they are as follows. Number 1, you can only catch the first Pokemon on each route. If a Pokemon fades, you can't use it anymore, you have to put it in the box or release it. You have to nickname every Pokemon you catch to get an emotional attachment to them. And if you white out, you have to restart the entire game. However, there are a few rules and clauses I've added, which you can check the description for, but the most notable of which is the dupes clause, which I chose to play through Fire Red because I thought it would be nice to play through the Kanto region again, as I haven't done that in a fair while. Anyways, with all that being said, let me tell you the story of my first Pokemon Nuzlocke. Our journey begins in Pallet Town. I wake up and try to touch some grass, but it seems like the people in this town are Discord mods because one of them stops me and brings me back to his house. They then give me and my rival Shadier a choice between 3 fidget toys to keep us distracted while they built a wall that blocked the grass so no one could leave the town ever. I chose the one named Bulbasaur and nicknamed it Blubbernut. Shadier chose Charmander and challenged me to a battle. After seeing who could tackle and scratch the longest, I set off to the next town before construction on the wall could begin. I made it to Viridian City and picked up the fat guy's parcel. Shadier and I snuck back into Pallet Town and I left the parcel on the table and we both grabbed a Pokedex and 5 Pokeballs off the table. This is where the Nuzlocke can truly begin. When I went back onto Route 1, I had my first encounter, which was a Rattata that I named Diddy Kong. After a drunk old man taught me something I already knew, I caught a Pidgey on Route 2 and named it Jamaica. I went to Route 22 next. The Pokemon I wanted was a Spearow because it evolves into Fearow, which has amazing stats and is one of 2 evolutionary lines in Kanto to learn the amazing move, Drill Peck. My first encounter was a Mankey. I annoyingly caught it and named it Anus. After training up Blubbernut and Jamaica, I attempted the first rival battle with Shadier. Jamaica took out its Pidgey with a couple of gusts and did the same with its Charmander. We moved on to the Viridian Forest and encountered a Caterpie. I killed it, and after that, Jamaica slipped through all the trainers in the forest, and I stole all their lunch money. After making it to Pewter City, we immediately challenged Brock. Blubbernut took out his Pokemon with a couple of Vine Whips. I took out the trainers on Route 3 with Jamaica and went to get my first encounter for that route. I wanted a Nidoran male because it evolves into Nidoking, which has great stats and an even greater move pool, but we instead got a Spearow as our encounter. I mean, that is what I wanted on Route 22, so I might as well catch it. After catching it and naming it Cockadoo, we trained it up so it could effectively replace Jamaica. I'm sorry, Jamaica, but Cockadoo is just better than you in every possible way. We went through Mount Moon and got a Zubat as our encounter. I killed it. Blubbernut whipped its way through the trainers in the mountain and evolved while it was at it. After taking out the last trainer, he gave me the choice between 2 fossils. I am an atheist. After realizing that no one on my current team could learn Mega Punch, I made it to Cerulean City. After healing up my Pokemon, I went on to Route 4 and caught an Ekans that I named Pisser. I grinded up Blubbernut and Cockadoo, oh by the way, Cockadoo evolved while grinding, and went to the second rival fight against Shadier. Cockadoo easily took out his Pidgeotto with a few pecks, his Rattata with a Fairy Attack, his Charmander with some pecks, and his Abra with more pecks. After battling through the trainers on the Nugget Bridge and stealing their lunch money, and I went to Route 25 to get my encounter there. I made sure to have Blubbernut in the front of my party because he had Sleep Powder, which I needed if I was going to catch the Pokemon I wanted. This time I wanted to catch an Abra. Do I even need to explain why this Pokemon is absolutely amazing? I got an Oddish instead. No biggie, I can try again for an Abra on the route right next to this one. So I went to Route 24 and I got a Kakuna. I did not know you could encounter this Pokemon on this route. I've never seen anyone encounter this Pokemon on this route. Whatever Game Freak employee chose to add these encounters to this route, I hope you step on a Lego that pierces through your skin and it gets infected. I tore through the trainers on Route 25 and got the SS ticket from Bill after helping him reverse his kinky experiment. I went and challenged Misty and one-shot both of her Pokemon with Razor Leaf. I beat up a Rocket Grunt, got the Dig TM, and I got to Vermilion City and went to Diglett Cave to get a free encounter. I caught a Diglett that I named Lois, and a Drowsy on Route 11 that I named Quagmire. They both died minutes later while grinding. So they were a short-lived duo. I got on the SSN and took out every single trainer on the boat. With all those levels, we were perfectly set to sweep through Shadier's newest team, and that we did. Cockadoo took out his Pidgeotto with 2 Pecks. He also took out Raticate with 2 Pecks, and one-shot his Kadabra with Peck. When Charmeleon came out, I tried to hit him with Peck, but it didn't do that much damage. Then Charmeleon burnt Cockadoo with Ember, so I had to send out Blubbernut to Razor Leaf it down. Blubbernut took down the Charmander, but it was super close because he only did it with 11 HP left. We got the Cut HM and traveled to Route 9. Cockadoo and Blubbernut were taking out the trainers on this route super easily, and we picked up the Aerial Ace TM, which I taught to Cockadoo to replace Peck. Finally, Cockadoo's best flying type move isn't complete garbage. We went through Rock Tunnel, and our first encounter was Geodude I named Omega. Tearing through the grass, rock, and ground types in the cave, we made it out the other side to Lavender Town. On Route 8, we trained up Omega on some trainers. We made it to Celadon and started doing some grinding on Omega. While doing this, we found a Growlithe in the grass, and I named it Zuko. After getting Omega to evolve, I used the power of my emulator to set up a trade so that I could evolve him again into a Golem. We then picked up the Eevee on the roof of the one tall building in Celadon, and I named it Optimus. After training it up to level 30 and evolving it with the Thunderstone, we started to do the same with Zuko. But then she died to a critical hit bite from a Meowth, so I went back to Route 8 to catch another Growlithe, which I named Zuko 2. When everyone was at appropriate levels, we stormed through the Rocket Hideout and fought Giovanni. Giovanni's Onix and Rhyhorn were easy one-shots with Razor Leaf, but the Kangaskhan was a different story. I knew that Kangaskhan wasn't weak to grass and was pretty powerful, so I put it to sleep, leech-seeded it, and then started spamming Razor Leaf. Kangaskhan woke up early, however, and used Mega Punch, which did a good chunk of health. After a couple more turns, Blubbernut killed Kangaskhan with a Razor Leaf. We got the Silph Scope and went to challenge Erica in her gym. We have a Fearow and a Growlithe, so I ended up just using Fearow to shred through her team. We made our way back down to Lavender Town and did the 4th rival battle. I set up a rollout with Omega, which took out the Pidgeotto in 2 turns. It also took out the Charmeleon in 1 turn. However, rollout missed on execute. So I sent out Zuko 2 and he took it out with a Flame Wheel. Because of Kadabra's terrible physical defense, Zuko one-shot it with a takedown. He sent out his Gyarados, so I switched to Blubbernut to use Razor Leaf, and a couple of Razor Leafs took it out. On the 3rd floor of the Pokemon Tower, we ran into a Chandler with a Ghastly. Ghastly used Confuse Ray on Omega, and I seem to have really bad luck with Confusion. Then the Ghastly used Curse, which halves its health to make Omega take damage every turn. Eventually, with a mix of bad luck with Confusion and Curse damage, Omega died. That was the first death that actually kinda hurt. Now we don't have anything to take on Koga with. We caught our own Ghastly, and I named it Graveler. I don't know why I didn't just name it Golem, but whatever. We got through the rest of the Pokemon Tower with no casualties and got the Pokefield from Mr. Fuji. It was just now that I realized I never fought Lieutenant Surge, so I went back to Vermilion City and used Blubbernut to Razor Leaf through his team. I flew back to Celadon and went to Route 16 to catch a Snorlax that I named Quandale. I decided to go down the Cyclone Road to Fuchsia City. I immediately went to the Safari Zone to get some encounters. If you didn't read the description like I told you to, I have a clause active that states that I can catch as many Pokemon as I can in my first Safari Zone run, but I can only keep one of them. I really want a Rhyhorn because it's the best rock ground type that I can get right now. I caught a Rhydon that I named Plessy, and got the Surf HM. Plessy ended up being the only Pokemon I caught in the Safari Zone. Trust me, I tried catching other ones. I trained up everyone to level 43 and challenged Koga in his gym. Plessy took out Coughing with a crit 2-hit Rock Blast. This is going to be a recurring theme, by the way. I tried to use Dig to one-shot his Muck, but it used Minimize at Dig and missed. This does, however, make Plessy's Stomp do twice as much damage. We hit the Stomp, and Koga used a Hyper Potion. After a couple more turns, Plessy took out the Muck. Koga sent out his other Coughing, which poisoned Plessy, but it was taken out pretty easily. Finally, Koga's Wheezing. I used a mixture of Rock Tombs and Stomps to chip away at the Wheezing. Finally, Plessy took out Wheezing with a Rock Blast. I flew to Saffron City and used Zuko 2 to take out all the trainers in the Silphco building. We then attempted Rival Fivel. Pidgeot immediately Feather Dance on Plessy, which lowered her attack, so Rock Blast only did a little less than half of its health. I switched out Plessy for Optimus, which took out his Pidgeot and Gyarados with Shockwaves. Optimus barely didn't take out his Execute with a crit pin missile. After getting paralyzed, Optimus took out the Execute with a Shockwave. Shadier then sent out his Alakazam, which used Future Sight. After Optimus got paralyzed twice in a row, I sent out Quandale to tank the Future Sight, and he one-shot Alakazam with a Body Slam, due to Alakazam's terrible physical defense. Shadier then sent out Charizard. I used Yawn to put it to sleep, and then Quandale took it out with 2 Body Slams. We got the free Lapras from the guy who watched the fight, named it Freezeye, and went to battle Giovanni for the second time. Plus, he took out his Nidorino with a crit 2-hit Rock Blast, one-shot his Nidoqueen with Dig, took out his Kangaskhan within a few turns, and one-shot his Rhyhorn with Dig. Before challenging Sabrina, I flew back and blew all my money on Game Corner coins. Why did I do this? It was so I could buy a TM for a Shadow Ball. I taught it to Quandale and used it to sweep through Sabrina's gym. After realizing I don't have a water type on my team, I boxed Zuko too so we could make it to Cinnabar Island. I got him out of the box and headed into the Pokemon Mansion. We got some useful TMs and got the key to unlock Blaine's gym. I wonder what happens when someone else tries to challenge the gym now. Anyways, using Plessy and Quandale, I destroyed Blaine's team and got the 7th gym badge. I grinded up everyone on the team to level 50 and challenged Giovanni, who I easily slept through with Blubbernut. After getting the Earthquake TM, I went and did the 6th rival battle with Shadier. I, of course, led with Optimus to one-shot his Pidgeot with Shockwave again. I switched into Blubbernut to take out the Rhyhorn, Quandale to take out the Alakazam, Execute, and Gyarados, and finally, Plessie to take out the Charizard. We then trekked through the Victory Road and made it to the Indigo Plateau. Before challenging the Elite Four, I decided that I needed to finalize my team and their movesets. Fire types aren't very useful anymore at this point in the game, so my plan was to box Zuko 2 for the rest of the run to make room for a Staryu. Staryu evolves into Starmie, which has a great move pool, typing, and stats. However, while listening to YouTube videos while I did the Nuzlocke, I was informed that Staryu and Starmie are exclusive to Leaf Green, so then I was like, oh, okay then. I could just catch a Slowpoke and evolve it, because it's not nearly as fast as Starmie, but it is tankier. And I figured that would be more helpful in the Elite Four battles coming up. But then I found out that Slowbro is also exclusive to Leaf Green. I unboxed Zuko 2 and trained everyone up to level 55. This is our final team going into the Elite Four. Blubbernut the Venusaur. Cockadude the Fearow. Optimus the Jolteon. Zuko 2 the Arcanine. Quandale the Snorlax. Finally, Plessie the Rhydon. Let's do this. The first Elite Four member was Lorelei, the Ice-type trainer. We took out our first 4 Pokemon with Optimus and his Shockwaves and Thunders. When Jinx came out, we sent in Quandale since he had Shadow Ball, and Jinx is half Psychic type, plus she has terrible physical defense. 1 down. Bruno was up next, so I led with Cockadude. I was expecting Steel Wing to be able to one-shot the Onix, but it didn't even do half. I ended up switching in Blubbernut to one-shot with Razor Leaf. He sent out his Hitmonchan next, and I decided to set up some growths, because Hitmonchan can't really do much to my Venusaur. After I buffed up Blubbernut enough, I swept through the rest of his team with a mixture of Razor Leafs and Giga Drains. Now on to the most annoying and most challenging Elite Four member, Agatha. She leads with a Gengar, so I lead with Quandale, not only to get the type advantage, but also because he's the only one who can do super effective damage. Gengar used Confuse Ring, like you saw earlier with Omega. I have very bad luck with Confusion. However, Quandale breaks through the confusion and one-shots Gengar with a Shadow Ball. She sent out her Golbat next, which got off a crit Air Cutter on Quandale. Within a couple more turns, Snorlax took out Golbat. Next is Arbok, who has Intimidate. Sludge Bomb does a lot of damage, and it poisoned Quandale, and because of Intimidate, Earthquake didn't one-shot. So after healing and getting poisoned again, we took out the Arbok. She has a second Gengar, so I took a turn to heal Quandale and tanked another Sludge Bomb. Then Gengar crits Sludge Bomb, and I get poisoned again. My attack is still down from Intimidate, so Shadow Ball doesn't one-shot. I switch into Blubbernut to get rid of the attack drop, and Gengar puts it to sleep. I switch back into Quandale while Gengar tries to use Nightmare. He puts Quandale to sleep and I heal it. I tank 2 Sludge Bombs and finish it off with a Shadow Ball. Her last Pokemon is Haunter. Haunter puts Quandale to sleep turn 1, then uses Dream Eater. The next turn, Haunter uses Curse. Curse does a lot of damage over time, so Quandale needs to wake up soon to get off a Shadow Ball. I use a full restore to wake it up, but Haunter puts me to sleep again. By the way, Hypnosis has 60% accuracy in this game, and not once has a Pokemon missed Hypnosis in this battle. We go through this cycle a lot of times. Quandale gets put to sleep. I wake him up. Curse does lots of damage. It gets put to sleep again. I heal it. Rinse and repeat for what felt like an hour, and finally, Haunter goes down. On to Lance, who is actually pretty easy in this run. Optimus one-shots his Gyarados with Shockwave, and we paralyze the Dragonair when it comes out. I sent in Quandale, and it took out the Dragonair with 2 Earthquakes, and did the same with his second Dragonair. He sends out his Ace Dragonite, and after healing Quandale, he tanks a Hyper Beam. Quandale couldn't live another one of those, so I was gonna have to switch in Plessie. Although Plessie has great physical defense, I didn't want her to have to tank a Hyper Beam, because I thought it would do a lot of damage. So I used Body Slam with Quandale and got the Paralysis. This allows me to safely switch in Plessie, knowing that she could take out the Dragonite with its Rock Slide. Dragonite did end up using a Hyper Beam, but it didn't do much damage. Plessie took out the Dragonite next turn and swiftly took out his Aerodactyl. Now, on to the final battle. Shadier, our friend and rival throughout the entire game. We escaped Pallet Town together. Now let's absolutely wreck him one more time. I again led with Optimus, who one-shots Pidgeot with Thunder. I switch into Blubbernet to deal with Rhydon, and he tanks an Earthquake. The next turn, he one-shots Rhydon with a Giga Drain. I sent out Quandale to take out the Alakazam. He tanks a Psychic, and Alakazam uses Reflect, so Shadow Ball doesn't one-shot. After tanking another Psychic, Quandale takes out Alakazam with another Shadow Ball. He sent out Exeggutor next, and I wanted to use all my Pokemon in the final fight, so I sent out Zuko 2 to one-shot with Flamethrower. Flamethrower barely doesn't one-shot, however, and Zuko 2 gets put to sleep. I knew I should have boxed him. After that, I sent in Cockadook, who gets off a Drill Peck before also being put to sleep. I wake it up and Cockadook takes out Exeggutor with another Drill Peck. I sent in Optimus again to one-shot Gyarados with Thunder now. Now, he sends out his last Pokemon, Charizard. He was swiftly one-shot by Optimus' Thunder. With that, we've won the Nuzlocke. As soon as I beat Shadier, I hid in the room that we fought in. The fat guy from the beginning of the story comes back and drags Shadier back to Pallet Town, and I never saw him ever again. That was pretty fun. I'd be totally down to do this again with a different Pokemon game. And I think I know just the game. Thank you for watching all the way through the video. If you liked what you saw, like the video and leave a comment to let me know. I post videos every Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Anyways, enjoy the end screen. Bye-bye.